Welcome to the Eclipse Horror Stories, where true horror lives in the shadows. Before we begin tonight's story, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss what comes crawling out next. And tell me in the comments where are you watching from? Now, turn off the lights and let's begin. So, just to clarify, I really can't stand Halloween anymore. Now, I don't begrudge anyone else for loving it. I'm not that kind of downer. But every fall, when those spooky decorations pop up and the shelves fill with those massive candy bags, it drags me back to something I've spent years trying to bury. I used to crash in this little suburban house, and I'd kill time staring out my front window when I wasn't buried in work or hitting the trails for a run. The view was right over the neighborhood street, and I'd catch myself people watching, wondering about their stories, their days. I'd see families bundling up for winter walks, kids dragging sleds in the snow. Come spring, there'd be folks planting flowers or washing cars. And around Halloween, it'd be a parade of costumes. Little ghosts and superheroes tromping door to door, bags swinging with treats. And yeah, despite what I said about hating it now, I used to be all in. I'd string up some orange lights around the porch, carve a goofy jack-o'-lantern, and stock a big bowl of candy by the door for anyone who stopped by. It was one of those cozy traditions that made the year feel alive. And I'd park myself by the window right after sunset, maybe with a hot cider in hand, just soaking in the creativity of the kids' outfits. Back in 1995, it was all about Power Rangers, red, blue, pink, you name it. The show was huge, so I figured the streets would be swarming with mini-morphers. But that night blew my expectations away. There were squads of them everywhere, mixed in with the classic witches and Frankenstein monsters. But around 8 p.m., I was done spectating and back inside flipping through a book. My eyes wandered to the window again out of habit, and I spotted this lone kid, maybe 10 years old, dressed as a pirate. Eye patch, fake sword, the works. He was trudging along the sidewalk, bag half full, looking a bit lost. Then this beat-up sedan rolls up slow beside him. I couldn't make out the driver at first, but the kid stops and peers in like he's listening. Seconds tick by, and the driver steps out. Ordinary guy, jeans and a hoodie, nothing flashy. He chats with the kid, gesturing toward the trunk. The boy looks hesitant but curious, like maybe the guy's offering extra candy or directions. And right then, this knot twists in my gut, screaming that something's off. It looked straight out of one of those old PSAs about not talking to strangers. But I second-guessed myself. Could be a neighbor or the kid's uncle picking him up late. The street was lit with porch lights, cars passing now and then. No way he'd try anything bold, right? But no matter how I spun it in my head, telling myself I was overreacting, that paranoia wouldn't shake. When the guy pops the trunk and points inside, I grab my phone, fingers hovering over 911. That inner voice says, "Chill, nothing's happening." But another whispers, "Memorize that plate." And then, bam, the guy lunges, scoops the kid up like a sack, shoves him in the trunk, and peels out. I dialed emergency so fast, blurting out the partial plate, the car's make, the guy's description. The operator assured me units were en route, but that didn't ease the panic. Posters went up the next week, smiling school photo of the boy, last seen in that pirate getup. Every time I passed one, it gutted me, knowing I saw the exact second his night turned to hell. Now, I don't know if they ever caught the creep. Rumors floated about similar vans in nearby towns, but nothing stuck. What haunts me most is that tap 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 on my window later that night. A shadowy figure in a mask, gone by the time I looked. It lingered with me for years. And though I eventually felt safe enough to unwind, I'd freeze at any knock after dark. The most terrifying night of my tween years hit on Halloween. I was out with my cousins, hitting up the ritzy part of town where mansions handed out king-sized bars like they were nothing. We'd scored big the year before, so we were pumped to raid them again before stocks ran low. Those houses were spaced out, with massive lawns and fancy gates. We'd trek past a few dark ones before spotting lights and decorations. We approached this one Victorian-style place, glowing pumpkins lining the path, fake graves in the yard, the works. Looked like a candy jackpot. But as we rang the bell, no chime echoed back. I figured it was busted, so I knocked hard. The door creaked open a crack, unlatched. We exchanged weird glances. One cousin muttered, "Maybe they left it open for trick-or-treaters?" I called out, "Trick or treat. Anyone there?" Silence, except for a faint drip-drip from inside, like a leaky faucet. The air smelled musty wrong. My gut screamed to bail, but curiosity won. I nudged the door wider. There, in the foyer, was a pile of candy wrappers scattered like confetti, and beyond that, a slumped figure against the wall. At first, I thought it was a prop, a dummy in old lady clothes for scares. But then it twitched, head lolling up, revealing a face smeared with what looked like red paint. No blood. Eyes glassy. She rasped, "Help!" He took it all. We bolted, yelling about a murder or ghost. One cousin swore it was a vampire rising. But halfway down the block, logic kicked in. She was robbed, bashed by some thief in a costume blending with the crowds. We flagged a neighbor, who called the cops. Turns out, the guy posed as a parent, forced his way in, cleaned out her safe while she bled out. She survived, barely, and later thanked us with leftover treats. But that image of her broken form, it killed my Halloween spirit. Kids think monsters are fake. Adults know they're real people in disguise. Story 3 takes us to a small town in the early 2000s. I was chaperoning my little sister and her friends, group of giggly 8-year-olds in princess and fairy outfits. The neighborhood was decked out, strings of lights, inflatable spiders, the usual. We were making good time, bags filling up fast. But as we hit this one cul-de-sac, the vibe shifted. Houses were dimmer, fewer kids around. At the last house, a guy answers in a clown mask, big red nose, polka dot suit. He chuckles. "Come on in, got the good stuff inside." The girls hesitate, but my sister tugs my hand, excited. I say no, we'll take it at the door. He shrugs, dumps handfuls of wrapped candies into their bags, black wrappers, unlabeled. We move on, but later at home, unwrapping treats, one girl bites into hers and gags. Inside, not chocolate, a razor blade sliver, just nicking her tongue. Panic ensues, ER visit, police report. Turns out the clown laced a batch, targeting random kids for some sick thrill. No arrests, but whispers of similar incidents nearby. What stuck with me was how innocent it looked. Candy from a friendly face. Now I check every piece, twice. Halloween's not about fun, it's a mask for malice. Fast forward to 2012 for this next one. I was a teen, out with buddies in zombie makeup, roaming the woods edge suburbs for extreme trick-or-treating. We cut through a park trail to hit more houses faster. Moon was full, fog rolling in, perfect spooky setup. But midway, we hear rustling, like footsteps shadowing us. We joke it's a deer, but then a whisper, trick or treat. We spin, nothing. Keep going, hearts pounding. Another rustle, closer. One friend shines his phone light, catches a glimpse. Pale figure in a tattered sheet, eyes hollow like sockets. It lunges, grabbing my arm with icy fingers. We scream, scatter. I trip, look back. It's gone, but my bag's empty, candy strewn like bait. Cops dismissed it as a prank, but later news hit. Escaped patient from a nearby asylum, dressed as a ghost, preying on stragglers. He was caught, but not before vanishing 2 other kids that night. The chill? That whisper echoes in my dreams. Forests on Halloween? Never again. Last but not least, this one's from my college days in 2018. Roommates and I threw a party, but I ducked out to trick or treat with my niece. Cute little witch costume. We hit apartments downtown, elevators dinging with costumed crowds. At one door, an old man answers, no decorations, just a bowl of apples. Razor Myth vibes, but whatever. He smiles too wide, hands her one. Bite deep, dearie. She does, spits it out, tastes metallic. I snatch it, see a needle poke through. We rush home, call poison control. Turns out, tampered with drugs, part of a string of incidents by a bitter ex-pharmacist hating noisy kids. She was fine, but the trust shattered. That grin, pure evil under wrinkles. Reminds me, sweets from strangers aren't treats. They're traps.